What's up, everybody? It's Jordan, and welcome to Sports Behind Show. And as crazy as it sounds, the NFL Draft is just 2 weeks from today. In this video, I want to be doing a Bengals 7-round mock draft, and I've done lots of Bengals mock drafts from mock draft simulators, whether it's PFF or Pro Football Network. This is our mock draft from Pro Football Network I did. In my opinion, I think it's the best one I've done so far. So we're going to be talking about this Bengals mock draft, some prospects I think the Bengals should be looking at. So we'll go ahead and get started here. The Bengals have a 17th pick in this year's NFL draft, and it's really interesting because there's multiple players, probably up to maybe about 10 players who are kind of on the table for Cincinnati to take here with the 17th pick. Personally, there's no other player I like more at the 17th pick than Marshall edge rusher Mike Green. To me, I just think it's a matter of him being here at the 17th pick. I know the Falcons are very interested in Green, and Raheem Morris, Atlanta's head coach, was actually at Marshall's pro day. So when you look at Mike Green, he is absolutely phenomenal, having 17 sacks this season, leading college football in sacks this season, having 23 tackles for loss, 2 passes defended. I mean, he can do it all. Having over 80 tackles as an edge rusher, that is not very common. Do you hear that? He can definitely change a game from a defensive standpoint. And when you're looking at this situation with the Bengals and Trey Hendrickson, regardless of the Bengals extend Trey Hendrickson or not, they have to draft the edge in the first, I would say, 2 rounds. Because when you look at Hendrickson, I mean, he had 48% of our sacks a season ago, and the only other player who had who had 5 sacks or more a year ago was Joseph Osai, and he just signed a 1-year prove-it deal. So we really don't have any reliable edge rushers outside of Hendrickson. I mean, this was the first year ever Osai had more than five sacks or more. And we saw what Miles Murphy has done up to this point. Miles Murphy has not done anything at all. And when you look at Mike Green, you have to get a guy like him, whether it's Williams from Georgia or maybe even James Pierce from Tennessee. I think edge is a need. And more than likely, if you're drafting Green, there's a 95% chance he's going to be the best player available here with the 17th pick. Anytime you draft a team need and it's the best player available, it's an automatic play A-plus pick to me. This is, in my opinion, the best case scenario for Cincinnati. Mike Green to Cincinnati, pairing him with Trey Hendrickson, would instantly become one of the best pass rushing duos in the National Football League. And let's say you keep Trey Hendrickson. Let's say we end up extending Hendrickson. We'll have him for maybe, let's say, 3 more years. We have Green up to 5 years, including his 5th-year option. I mean, that is great for Cincinnati. If we don't end up extending Hendrickson, we have Green and, multiple, other young edge rushers Murphy, who hasn't proven anything up to this point, but still has somewhat potential. And Osai can maybe, return as well. But I love the idea of the Bengals drafting Mike Green here with the 17th pick overall. So the Bengals drafting Green with a 17th pick, that is my favorite option on the table for Cincinnati. I would be so happy if that ends up happening. And then the 49th pick here, to me, this is also another best scenario for the Bengals. I had them taking Notre Dame safety Xavier Watts. I love this pickup here for the Bengals. He is the ball hawk safety that the Bengals have desperately needed since they did not re-sign Jesse Bates a couple years ago. And I really wanted Cincinnati to get Xavier Watts even before we ended up hiring Al Golden, who was the defense coordinator at Notre Dame. So there's already a connection there with Xavier Watts and Al Golden. Xavier Watts has had 13 interceptions the last 2 years. That is absolutely incredible. I mean, he had over 80 tackles this season for the Fighting Irish, 10 passes defended. This just makes so much sense to me. I know, it's kind of weird. Just a couple months ago, he was projected to be a first-round pick. He's kind of been dropping a little bit, but this is another one of those situations where I think 95% chance Xavier Watts is going to be the best player available on the board here with the Bengals with the 49th pick overall. I mean, if we end up getting Mike Green and Xavier Watts the first 2 rounds, I really don't know how you can get better than that. Like, that's absolutely phenomenal, in my opinion. I think Watts would be a perfect fit here with the Cincinnati defense. As we continue here, I'm not really seeing a whole lot of mock drafts of the Bengals getting this guy here, and really, it's kind of crazy I had them taking Virginia Tech cornerback Dorian Strong here in the third round with the 81st pick overall. It's kind of crazy because when you look around this time a year ago, there was lots of hype and lots of talk about Dorian Strong potentially being a first round pick in this year's NFL draft. He kind of had a down year this past season compared to his 2023 campaign. He had 2 interceptions and 6 passes defended this year for Virginia Tech, but when you look at his 2023 campaign, he had 3 interceptions and 8 passes defended. He was targeted 32 times in his 2023 season. He only allowed 9 receptions. It is like incredible. That's like crazy, crazy good. And when you put that in perspective with so many cornerbacks who were drafted in the first round in last year's NFL draft, look at Quinyon Mitchell. Quinyon Mitchell was targeted 59 times. He allowed 26 receptions. Terrion Arnold was targeted 64 times. He allowed 34 receptions. And Nate Wiggins was targeted 41, and he allowed 18 receptions. So when you're looking at Strong allowing only just 9 receptions on 32 targets, that 2023 season was really, really impressive by Strong. And like I mentioned, I know he had kind of a down year this year, but we've seen what Strong can be when he's at his best. He can be one of the best cornerbacks in football. And I think it's definitely a really good option here for Cincinnati. I think this cornerback group is just not really what it used to be. I think we could use more depth, and I don't think that's a bad idea at all, getting Strong here in the third round. I think corner, probably around the third round, is something you may be looking at here. Maybe offensive lineman, guard. We've not drafted one up to this point. But Strong here, I think, is a great option for Cincinnati. As we continue here in the fourth round with the 119th pick overall, I actually did a video about this guy the other day, and that is Delaware running back Marcus Yarns. Marcus Yarns is absolutely phenomenal. In this past season, he had 133 rushing attempts for over 800 yards, averaged 6.3 yards per carry, had 6 rushing touchdowns. Those stats are okay, but the thing that makes Marcus Yarns stands out compared to any other running back in this draft class is his pass catching ability. He had 17 receptions this year for Delaware for 297 receiving yards and 5 receiving touchdowns. He averaged, 17 and a half yards per catch. He had 2 different receptions this year of over 50 yards as a running back. Like, that's absolutely unheard of. In the last 2 years for Delaware, he's had 41 receptions, and 8 of those have been touchdowns. 19.5% of Marcus Yarns' receptions have been touchdowns the last 2 seasons. He's averaged over 14 yards per catch the last 2 years for Delaware. And when you watch Marcus Yarns play, to me, he reminds me a lot of Le'Veon Bell. And when you watch Bell, he was explosive. He had lots of patience when he was running the ball, and his pass catching ability was what made him stand out the most. Marcus Yarns is somebody to me who's not really getting talked about, not nearly enough. If you pair him with Chase Brown, I think it's going to be a very difficult backfield to stop whoever is playing Cincinnati. Because we saw Chase Brown really pick it up towards the end of the season last year. Marcus Yarns, to me, is probably the best or top 3 best running back on day 3. He's not getting talked about near as much as he should be getting, but Marcus Yarns, I think, is a really nice option here for Cincinnati in round 4. So this is a 7-round mock draft, and the Bengals don't have a 7th-round pick because we ended up trading a 7th-round pick to get Khalil Herbert. We traded to get him towards the trade deadline this past season. So as we continue here in the 5th round, I absolutely love this pick here. I have the Bengals getting Marshall safety J.J. Roberts in the 5th round and 153rd pick overall. J.J. Roberts, I think I've been the only person to report this as of now, but he's scheduled to visit with Cincinnati. I think he's expected to actually visit with them this upcoming week, I believe. But when you watch J.J. Roberts, he's absolutely phenomenal, having 94 tackles this season for the Thundering Herd, 14 passes defended. That ranks 2nd most in the FBS this year. He was not invited to the NFL Combine, which to me was absolutely crazy. And I even posted he was the biggest combine snub. And when you watch his pro day at Marshall, he would have been top 3 in 5 different categories as a safety position if he was invited to the Combine. The Bengals met with him at his pro day. He has a scheduled visit with Cincinnati. The Bengals seem very high on J.J. Roberts. I would like this pickup so much here. And Roberts was someone who wasn't really even a lock to be drafted heading into his pro day. Now it is pretty much a guaranteed lock. He's going to be drafted. He met with over 20 teams at his pro day. He's getting lots of interest. He had a recent visit with the Vikings and the Buccaneers. But Roberts to me is a great option on day 3. Definitely one of my favorite day 3 prospects for Cincinnati. As we continue here in his final selection in this Bengals 7-round mock draft, with the 6th-round pick and the 193rd pick overall, I have the Bengals getting Eastern Washington wide receiver Efton Chisholm. There's a couple wide receivers here I like around this area. Efton Chisholm is one, and then Elijah Badger, the Florida wide receiver. I like him quite a lot as well. I ended up going with Chisholm here. Chisholm has been one of the most reliable and consistent wide receivers in college football these last couple of seasons. This past season for Eastern Washington, he had 120 receptions for 1,311 receiving yards. He had 13 receiving touchdowns, average 11 yards per reception. He's been absolutely phenomenal. He's had at least 6 receiving touchdowns each of the last 4 years. I don't know how often that's happened, but that is very, very rare in today's college football, because normally players, don't really play much their freshman year, and then by that point, they don't really stay all 4 seasons. But Chisholm, when you watch him play, almost reminds you a little bit of Cooper Kupp, and it's interesting because if there was one wide receiver in this year's draft class who I think would be the Cooper Kupp of this year's draft class, I think it's Eastern Washington. I think it's Efton Chisholm, and what's crazy about that is that Cooper Kupp played at Eastern Washington just like Efton Chisholm. And I really like this pickup here. I think we could use a little bit more wide receiver help because, we have Chase and Higgins. Outside of that, we don't really know what the future holds for Jermaine Burton. I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up maybe getting cut kind of soon if he doesn't, change his ways and stuff. Yoshivash is a nice red zone threat, but could still use somebody else. And I think Efton Chisholm would bring a nice little boost to this wide receiver core. In Cincinnati, like I said, Elijah Badger is somebody also like a lot as well from Florida, having 39 receptions and average over 20 yards per reception. He led the country in yards per reception with players with at least 35 catches this year. But that really about does it for this Bengals 7-round mock draft. This, to me, is the best Bengals mock draft I've seen so far. Make sure to comment your thoughts on comment your thoughts about this mock draft and comment who you want the Bengals to draft in the NFL draft. It's just 2 weeks away, and it's absolutely crazy. Thank you all so much for watching. If you're new to my channel or have seen videos before, make sure to like this video and hit the subscribe button. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time on the Sports Behind Show.